Okay, so today's use case involves two separate datasets. I've got a main workbook and an additional workbook here. In the main workbook, we have ID, payroll number, department and start date, and within the additional workbook, we have additional information. The only matching data between the two is the IDs, which consists within column A. So for the ones that we do have a match, I want to pull out all of the information together, so name, location and salary, along with everything in our main workbook. So I've just gone ahead and created kind of foundations of a UiPath process here. I've got my source files, which I point towards my main workbook. That outputs the DT main with the headers checked. And I also have an additional read range here, which outputs to DT additional, which is also a data table. The scope of both of these variables is set to the full flowchart, meaning that it's available for any other sequences that I pull out. And that's exactly what I'm going to do next. So I pull over a new sequence here and I'm going to rename that to pair grab matching data. Okay, so within this, what I need to do is essentially build out my DT main to show the new columns. And I know that the new column names are essentially going to match what's in here. So name, location and salary. So that's our first step here. So I'm going to get add column. Go data table, column. Just going to call this name. That's going to point towards DT main. Two other ones. It's called location, salary. Okay, so that's just the initial kind of housekeeping. The next thing that we need to do is pull over a for each. So in this instance, we're going to use a data table for each. Go for each row. So data table for each, we're going to pull that over, establish it here. And what I'm going to say here, just to differentiate, is main ID. For each main ID in the main, I'd like to pull over an if there are matches. What we're going to use here is a Linq query. It's just super fast and you'll find that it's just so much cleaner to actually use these rather than, kind of nested for eaches, which just becomes a wee bit confusing and just quite messy, to be frank. So what I'm going to say here is from our new info, which is contained in our DT additional. IntelliSense DT additional, where the main ID base 0, so we're going to say index 0 here, which correlates to column A. I'm going to do toString trim, just in case there's any trailing spaces, that equals our new info. Again, it's column A, so it's 0. So if two column 0 matches, then toString trim, again, just in case it's trailing spaces. What we're going to say is select new info. We're going to pass that to array. So we're going to say count greater than 0. So let's check this out. So if you're not familiar with Linq, effectively what it is, it's like a query that you can use within your project. And it's just really quick in comparing data and moving on to the next one, rather than looping through continuous data sets. It essentially says, look, if there's matches between these two, it does a quick search in it, then bring over the new data and do something with it. So for the new info in the additional workbook, where I've got DT additional, where the main ID, column 0, so column A, convert that to string, trim any trailing spaces. If that equates to our new info, which is our additional data set, again, that's column A, which is 0. toString.trim, select the new info that we're given. If that count is greater than 0, then that is going to be true, which is going to lead us over here. So the super quick way to do this is just copy that full condition. we're going to pull over a new assign, call that DT results. Data table, so I'm just going to update this, DT results. And see. And what I want to do is basically paste in our full condition here. Give you an error to begin with, but we're quickly going to sort that. So all we're going to do, take off this last count is greater than 0. The next thing that we're going to do is basically copy to data table. So, and okay, great. So let's just do a quick check just to make sure everything is planned. So what I want to do is just do a quick write line. See our DT results. Yeah, and within this, we're going to do close parentheses, so it's row 0, column, just say column 2 to string. And we should get basically anything that's in column C within our additional workbook. So A, B, C. So we should get the location out. I'm going to close over these Excel documents just to stop any errors showing up. And we're just going to hit play. So let's check our output. Let's see. So yeah, we've got all the matching rows and we're pulling out the actual locations. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we want to see just now. Great. So what am I going to do with this? Well, what we're going to do is just quickly pop in an assign in here. And we're basically going to take this, you know it works, pop it in here to our value, remove our write line because we know it works. And I'm basically going to say, because we know that effectively in our main workbook we've populated quite a number of fields, so 0, 1, 2, 3, so it's going to be in column 4 where I want the information to go, and this is going to be our location. And I'm going to double check that I actually got order, so effectively I've got name in here. That's alright. Well, what we can do is just change this over column 1. That's going to pull over our name, say whatever we've called for each up here. So for each main ID, so it's going to be main ID C, and it's going to be 4 in here. So let's just save, copy this down a few times, say results 2, 3, this is going to be 4, 5, 6, 8. So the next thing that we want to do, effectively print out our results. So to do that, I'm just going to pull over another sequence, and I'm going to call this output. What I've done is that within my actual project files, I've got an output file in here already, and at the moment it is blank. Let's see, yep, so results file is blank. Close over additional one. It's just now, so our output, what we need to do is a write range, and it's going to be our workbook write range. Pull that over, I'm going to specify the path. It's within my output results file. I would like to add headers. Sheet 1's fine for me, and the data table is going to be DT main, or DT main rather. Okay. Let's give this a whirl. So we should get all the columns in one concise output file that has matches between the two separate data sets. And I've done it in 3 seconds apparently. 3 seconds, which is great. And check my results. And yep, so basically where we've had a match, it's basically combined all of the data correctly. So you can check that if you want against our additional files. Additional workbook. Show me the over. It's my additional workbook, and here. So what we got? We got 101's populated, 119 populated, 17 populated. So you can continue on with this, but effectively, wherever we've had a match between the two data sets, you've got something populated there. So there we go. I hope this is of help to yourself. Certainly something that I would recommend you looking into is Linq queries. It's fabulous in terms of how much time you can actually save. And yeah, once you get the hang of what's actually required in the condition, and again, just remembering to copy down the condition over to your data table results, whatever you'd like to name it. And all you have to do is just adjust that last part, which is effectively copy to data table. And then you can just mess around with it. As you've seen, all I had to do is just basically say whatever the data table was that you passed the results to, you do 0 for the actual first row, and then the actual column is specified here. So again, it's indexed. So 1 in this particular occasion correlates to B, 2 would be C, 3 would be D. So it continues on from that part. Again, if you find that your IDs or the two matching data sets that you want to compare aren't perhaps in the same place, so if it's, say, column A in one particular document and your ID was maybe in column B in another one, all you have to do is just adjust your condition. The way that you do that is you would say where main ID is wherever the location is of your matching information, and compare that with the other column of the matching information. And as long as you pass that to an array, you do your check just to make sure that the count is greater than 0, then yeah, you can basically play around with it to see how you get on. One of the most common errors that people come across is that it says something like an error that the array count is greater than the output array. In order to kind of get around that, make sure you've added your additional columns in first before you actually do your for each. That will just save any issues happening in the future. So if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. I'll see what else I can bring to the table, some other kind of quick fixes for any kind of ongoing issues that you may have. But thank you again for your time. Cheers, bye.